Jesus did not give his disciples a theology textbook. He gave them 7 images of himself. 7 times in the Gospel of John, he opens his mouth and speaks 2 Greek words, ego, eimi, I am, and attaches a picture to those 2 words that reveals something about who he actually is. Bread, light, door, shepherd, resurrection, way, vine, 7 pictures, 7 statements. And underneath each one is a divine claim so audacious that the men who first heard them either fell to their knees and worshipped or picked up stones to kill the man who said them. So let's walk through all 7. What each one meant in its original context, what each one is telling you about who Jesus actually is, and what each one changes about how you live tomorrow morning. The 2 words are ego, eimi, I am. On their own, these are ordinary words. Anyone could say them. The waiter who brings your meal says, ego, eimi, to identify himself. The shopkeeper who recognizes you says, ego, eimi, to greet you. These are not unusual words in Greek. What makes them explosive in John's Gospel is the moment in the Old Testament that they echo. Exodus 3:14. Moses is standing at the burning bush. He has just been told he is being sent to lead Israel out of Egypt. And he asks God a question that any sensible person would ask. If I come to the people of Israel and say to them, the God of your fathers has sent me to you, and they ask me, what is his name? What shall I say to them? What is your name? And God answers, I am who I am. The Hebrew is ehyeh asher ehyeh. The name God gives himself is built on the verb to be. He is the one who is, the self-existent one, the one whose existence depends on nothing outside himself. And when the Hebrew scriptures were translated into Greek in the centuries before Jesus, the translators rendered that name into Greek as ego, eimi, the same 2 words Jesus uses in John's Gospel. That is what makes John 8 so dangerous. In John 8:58, Jesus says to a group of Jews who are debating with him about Abraham, truly, truly, I say to you, before Abraham was, I am. Before Abraham was, ego, eimi. He is using the divine name. He is claiming the verb that God spoke at the burning bush. He is identifying himself with the I am of Exodus 3. And the next verse, John 8:59, records what happened. So they picked up stones to throw at him. They understood the claim. The reason they wanted to kill him was not that he had insulted them. The reason was that they understood what he had just said about himself, and they considered it blasphemy. A man calling himself God by name. That is the weight under every I am statement in John. When Jesus says ego, eimi, he is not just identifying himself. He is identifying himself with the God of the burning bush. And then he attaches a picture to it. Bread, light, door, shepherd, resurrection, way, vine. Each picture is a self-revelation. This is what the I am is like. 1. I am the bread of life. John 6:35. I am the bread of life. Whoever comes to me shall not hunger, and whoever believes in me shall never thirst. The setting is the morning after Jesus fed 5,000 men with 5 loaves and 2 fish. The crowd has found him on the other side of the lake. They want more bread. They are hoping he will be their permanent meal ticket. And Jesus reaches back 1,500 years for the comparison they would understand. Manna. In Exodus 16, when Israel was in the wilderness, God provided manna from heaven every morning. The Hebrew word for manna comes from the question the Israelites asked when they first saw it. Manhu? What is it? Bread they could not identify, bread that fell from the sky, bread that kept an entire nation alive for 40 years in a place where nothing should have grown. But the manna had limitations. It had to be gathered every morning. It went bad if you kept it overnight. And the people who ate it died in the wilderness. Manna sustained life in the wilderness, but did not give life that lasted. Jesus is saying, I am the bread that does what manna could not do. I am the bread that does not need to be gathered every morning, because once received, I am inside you. I am the bread that does not go bad. I am the bread that the people who eat me do not ultimately die. That is what bread of life means. Not just nourishment. Life that does not run out. And the application is direct. You are hungry for something today. Everyone is. There is something you keep going back to in order to feel filled up. Recognition, achievement, pleasure, reassurance, productivity. The next experience, the next purchase, the next conversation that will make you feel like you are enough. And every one of those things has the limitation of manna. They sustain you for a day, and the next day the hunger returns. Whatever filled you yesterday is empty by tomorrow. That is exactly the pattern manna was designed to expose. Israel had to gather it daily because no amount of yesterday's manna would feed today. The daily hunger pointed to a deeper hunger that no daily provision could solve. And what Jesus offers as the bread of life is the bread that satisfies the deeper hunger, once fully for life. Jesus is saying, come to me as the bread, not as the topping on top of your real diet, as the bread, the actual sustenance, the thing that goes inside you and stays there. The substitutes will keep running out. The bread of life does not. 2. I am the light of the world. John 8:12. I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will not walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. The setting is the Feast of Tabernacles, Sukkot, one of the 3 great pilgrimage feasts of Israel. And during this feast, in the court of the women in the Jerusalem temple, 4 enormous lampstands were set up. Each one held 4 bowls of oil. The light from them was visible across Jerusalem at night. The Jewish historian Josephus says the lighting of these lamps was so bright that every courtyard in the city seemed lit by them. Jesus is standing in this court, surrounded by these lamps during the feast that featured them. And he says, I am the light of the world. The claim has Old Testament backing as well. Genesis 1:3, let there be light. The first thing God said into the formless darkness was a command for light. Psalm 27:1. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Isaiah 61. Arise, shine, for your light has come. Throughout the Old Testament, light is the personal presence of God breaking into darkness, and Jesus is identifying himself as that light, not a light. The light, the one who was in the beginning, the one the pillar of fire pointed to in the wilderness, the one Isaiah was anticipating. The application is one of the most practical in the whole study. There's an area of your life right now that is dark. You do not know what to do. You cannot see the next step. You have been trying to figure it out by your own analysis, your own intelligence, your own evaluation of the options. And the analysis keeps failing because the situation is not the kind of situation that responds to analysis. You do not need more light on the path. You need the light who is the path. Follow him. Not the principles, not the theology, the person. The light is not a concept. The light is Jesus himself. And whoever follows him does not walk in darkness. Even in seasons where the path is unclear, the one walking ahead of you is the light, and you do not need to see further than the back of the one you are following. 3. I am the door. John 10:9. I am the door. If anyone enters by me, he will be saved and will go in and out and find pasture. The image is from the world of first-century shepherding. At night, shepherds would gather their sheep into a sheepfold, a low stone enclosure with one opening. The shepherd himself would lie down across the opening. He became the door. Anything that wanted to get to the sheep had to come through him, and the sheep that wanted to come in or go out had to pass over him. Jesus is using that physical image of the shepherd lying across the gate to describe what he is for those who belong to him. I am the door. Notice what door does in the sentence. A door has two functions. It admits and it excludes. Through the door, you can enter. Through the door, what is dangerous is kept out. The door is the place of decision. What comes in, what stays out, who has access, who does not. And Jesus is saying, I am that point of decision. There is no other way into the safety of the sheepfold. There is no other shepherd to whom the sheep belong. The door is one, and the door is me. This is the most exclusive of the 7 statements. It cuts against the modern assumption that every spiritual path leads to the same destination. Jesus does not give that assurance. He says there is one door, and it is Him. But notice also the generosity in the same verse. He will go in and go out and find pasture. The door is not just for safety at night. The door is the daily passage between rest and pasture. The sheep that have come in through the door also go out through the door to where they will be fed. The relationship is not one entry and then done. It is constant passage through the same door, into rest, out to provision, back into rest, out to provision, for the whole life of the sheep. The application is to recognize the exclusivity and the generosity at once. There is one door, and the one door is open to anyone who will come through. 4. I am the good shepherd. John 10:11. I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd lays down his life for the sheep. This statement comes a few verses after the door statement in the same conversation, the same context of sheep and pasture. But the picture has shifted. Jesus is no longer the entrance. He is the one who guards the entrance. The Old Testament background is rich. Psalm 23, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Ezekiel 34, a long passage where God indicts the false shepherds of Israel who have fed themselves on the sheep instead of feeding the sheep, and announces that He Himself will come and be the shepherd. Behold, I myself will search for my sheep and will seek them out. Jesus is fulfilling Ezekiel 34. The God who said, I myself will be the shepherd, has come in the flesh as the shepherd of the sheep. And the diagnostic of the good shepherd is given in the same verse. The good shepherd lays down his life for the sheep. That is the distinguishing mark, not technique, not credentials, not the size of the flock, the willingness to die for the sheep. The hired hand, verse 12, when he sees the wolf coming, runs away because the sheep are not his. He has no reason to face the wolf and die for them. The good shepherd has every reason. The sheep are his. The price he is willing to pay is his own life. The cross is the demonstration. The crucifixion was not an interruption of Jesus' shepherding work. It was the fullest expression of it. The good shepherd lays down his life for the sheep, and the application is to receive being shepherded. Most believers want to be the shepherd in their own life. They want to navigate, decide, lead, plan, control. The image Jesus offers is the opposite. Be the sheep. Let the shepherd lead. Let the one who has already laid down his life for you guide the path that you would otherwise try to manage on your own. Pause for a moment before going into the final 3. The first four statements have covered the ground that needs to land before continuing. Bread for the hunger, light for the darkness, the door for those who wonder whether they can come in, the shepherd for those who have been trying to lead themselves. Each picture meets a specific need that almost every believer is carrying. Sit with these questions before going on. Which of the first four pictures named where you are right now? The hunger that keeps coming back even after you have fed it with something else. The darkness in a situation you cannot analyze your way out of. The wondering whether you can come in. The exhaustion of trying to shepherd yourself. Where have you been trying to satisfy your hunger with manna, something that has to be gathered every day and goes bad overnight, when the bread of life is offering himself as the lasting nourishment you have been looking for? If Jesus said, "The Good Shepherd lays down his life for the sheep," what does it look like for you this week to stop trying to be the shepherd of your own life and to receive being shepherded? Take those questions into your day before reading further. The remaining three statements go deeper still, into death itself, into the question of the way to the Father, and into the connection that produces all genuine fruit. 5. I am the resurrection and the life. John 11:25. I am the resurrection and the life. Whoever believes in me, though he die, yet shall he live. The setting is the most emotionally charged in any of the seven. Lazarus has been dead for 4 days. His sisters Mary and Martha are devastated. Jesus has arrived too late to heal him. The story is moving toward grief, not toward resurrection. And then Martha comes out to meet Jesus. She says, "Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. But even now I know that whatever you ask from God, God will give you." Jesus answers, "Your brother will rise again." Martha says, "I know that he will rise again in the resurrection on the last day." And then Jesus says the most extraordinary thing in this conversation, "I am the resurrection and the life." He does not say, "I will give you the resurrection." He does not say, "I can perform a resurrection." He says, "I am the resurrection." The resurrection is not a thing I do. The resurrection is who I am. This is one of the deepest claims in the whole Bible. Death is the final enemy. Death is what every human being must eventually face. And Jesus is saying, the resurrection is not an event in the future. The resurrection is a person, and the person is standing in front of you. A few minutes later, Lazarus walks out of the tomb still wearing the grave clothes. The verbal claim is followed by the physical demonstration. Jesus calls the dead man out, and the dead man comes. The resurrection and the life is not a metaphor. It is the actual identity of the one who has just been speaking with Martha. The application is the most personal of the seven for anyone who has lost someone. The grave is not the final word. The one who calls the dead out is the same one who will call the dead out at the end. And the grief that is real, and the Bible makes space for the grief Jesus himself weeps at this tomb, is not the final emotion. The final word is resurrection, and the resurrection is not a future event you are waiting for. The resurrection is a person you can know now. 6. I am the way, the truth, and the life. John 14:6. I am the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. The setting is the upper room the night before the crucifixion. Jesus has just told the disciples that he is going somewhere they cannot follow. Thomas asks, "Lord, we do not know where you are going. How can we know the way?" The answer is one of the most concentrated theological sentences in the Bible. I am the way. The path itself is a person. To walk with him is to walk the way. To follow him is to be on the way. The journey and the destination converge into the same person. I am the truth. Truth is not a set of propositions you study. Truth is a person you know. And the way you grow in truth is the way you grow in any relationship, through time, attention, presence, conversation. I am the life. The life giver and the life are the same. To have the life is to have him. To lose him is to lose the life. And then the exclusive claim. No one comes to the Father except through me, the same exclusivity as the door. There is one way, there is one truth, there is one life, and all three are concentrated in one person. This is the verse the modern world most resists. The claim that there is one exclusive way to the Father offends every assumption about religious pluralism. But Jesus does not soften it. He does not offer alternatives. He claims the exclusive identity and leaves the listener to either accept or reject what he has said about himself. The application is to stop searching for the way, the truth, or the life as if they were things to be found apart from Jesus. They are not. They are him. And the believer who has him does not need to search for the three things he said he is. 7. I am the true vine. John 15:1. I am the true vine, and my Father is the vine dresser. The setting is the most likely physical of any of the seven. The Last Supper is over. Jesus and the disciples have left the upper room. They are walking through Jerusalem toward the Mount of Olives, where Gethsemane lies. And on the way, they may have passed the temple, which had a great golden vine sculpted over the entrance, a symbol of Israel as God's vine. The Old Testament is full of this image. Isaiah 5, Israel as the vineyard God planted and tended, expecting good grapes and getting wild grapes. Psalm 80. You brought a vine out of Egypt. Jeremiah 2. I planted you a choice vine, wholly of pure seed. How then have you turned degenerate and become a wild vine? Israel was the vine, and the vine had failed. Jesus says, I am the true vine. The original vine has failed. I am what the vine was always meant to be, and the relationship between God, the vine dresser, and the vine is now mediated through me. Then comes the practical instruction in verse 5. I am the vine, you are the branches. Whoever abides in me and I in him, he it is that bears much fruit, for apart from me you can do nothing. Abide. The Greek word is meno, to remain, to stay, to continue in. To abide in Christ is to stay connected. The branch does not produce fruit by trying harder. The branch produces fruit by remaining attached to the vine. The sap flows through the connection. The fruit grows on the branch because of what is coming through the vine into it. The image is precise. A branch cut off from a vine does not slowly fail to produce fruit. It withers immediately. The connection is not optional for the branch. It is the source of everything the branch has. Sap, water, nutrients, life itself. All of it flows from the vine into the branch through the place of connection. And when the connection is broken, the branch has nothing left to give. Most spiritual exhaustion in the believer's life comes from trying to produce branch fruit while neglecting vine connection. The believer is striving, working, serving, performing, all without the daily attention to the connection that makes any of it possible. And the result is dry branch activity, lots of motion, no genuine fruit. And the diagnostic in the same verse, apart from me, you can do nothing. This is the most freeing and the most humbling sentence in the 7 statements. Freeing because it removes the burden of trying to produce spiritual fruit through your own effort. Humbling because it makes the believer recognize that everything genuinely fruitful in their life is the product of staying connected, not of striving harder. The application is the simplest of the 7. Stay connected. Read Scripture. Pray. Worship. Sit with Him. The fruit will grow without you needing to manufacture it. Your job is not to produce. Your job is to abide. 7 statements, 7 pictures, 1 person, bread that does what manna could not, light who is also the path, door that is open to anyone who will come through, shepherd who lays down his life, resurrection that is not a future event, but a present person, way and truth and life concentrated in one place, vine that produces fruit through the branch that abides. Each picture is partial. None of them captures the whole, but together they reveal something that no single image could carry. The I am of Exodus 3:14 has taken on flesh, and the flesh He has taken on speaks of Himself in 7 pictures that fit the deepest needs of the human heart: hunger, darkness, exclusion, lostness, death, confusion, fruitlessness. For every wound, an answer. For every need, an identity of His that meets it. So here is what to do tomorrow morning. Pick one of the 7, the one that named where you are right now. If you are hungry, exhausted, depleted, going to substitutes that do not fill you, go to the bread. If you are walking in darkness, facing a situation where you cannot see the next step, go to the light, not to the principles, to the person. If you have been wondering whether there is a way back, go to the door. The door is open. If you have been trying to shepherd yourself, go to the Good Shepherd, let Him lead. If you are grieving, go to the resurrection and the life. The grief is real. The grave is not the final word. If you are searching for direction, truth, meaning, go to the way and the truth and the life. The 3 are one person. If you are exhausted from trying to produce spiritual fruit by your own effort, go to the vine, abide, stop manufacturing, start connecting. Whichever one you picked, do not just think about it, sit with it. Read the chapter it comes from. Let the picture land in your heart. And tomorrow, when the day starts and the situation that has been pressing on you presses again, go back to the picture. Whoever Jesus said He is for that situation, He still is. The 7 statements are not a list to be studied and put away. They are 7 doors into the same person. Each one is a different way to know Him. And the believer who walks through all 7 over the course of a lifetime knows Him in a way that no theology textbook could ever provide. He gave 7 pictures because 7 was what was needed. Walk through them, one at a time, as your life requires. Before closing, sit with 3 more questions. These cover the last 3 statements in the whole study together. The resurrection and the life is a person, not a future event. If you have lost someone or are walking through grief of any kind, what changes when you address your grief to the one who is the resurrection rather than carrying it as if death has the final word? Jesus said, apart from Him, you can do nothing. Where in your life have you been trying to produce spiritual fruit through effort rather than through abiding? What would it look like this week to stay connected rather than to strive harder? Of the 7 statements as a whole, bread, light, door, shepherd, resurrection, way, vine, which one named where you are most fully? Let us know in the comment section. God bless you.